Welcome back, guys. My name is Austin from awfulmedia.com, and this is part 8 of the Making a Simple Game in Unity tutorial series. Now, in this part, we're going to be working on the level completion little menu that pops up and says, hey, you completed the level. This is your score. Click this button to go to the next level, and click this button to quit playing the game. And that'll be pretty much that. But what I want to do first is show you something that I've been working on for a little bit. And it's nothing game related. It's the website, awfulmedia.com. The redesign or the rebuild, complete rebuild, everything's brand new, has taken a while because I quit doing the web stuff for a while and just put the website kind of off to the side and said I'll finish it sometime, and I never did. I quit doing anything with the website. But the last week, or about the past week now, I've been working on finishing it up. I had to omit a few features that I really wanted to bring in, do some of the fancy stuff a bit differently because I wanted to just get it finished and get it out here so I can start using it for the channel. And what I mean by using it for the channel is I would like to have a place to host different downloads and different videos and game demos, or a forum, which is very important. A forum, I need a forum. It may never be used, but I want a place that I can try at least to get some people to go to if you need help on a tutorial. And don't ask me in the comments if you have this, if you have to paste 200 lines of code. Go to the forum, put that code in there, wrap it in some code tags so it'll be formatted where I can actually read it, and I'll help you debug it that way. So if you go to categories, go to the forums. Please check that out. That'll save me a lot of time. It'll keep the questions all within a question area, right? So I don't have to go through Twitter, through Google+, through YouTube, and have all these different answers just all over the place and get asked the same question over and over. Keep all that stuff in one area. That way, anytime anybody asks a question, I can just link them to that question where it has an extensive answer. That'll be really good if you guys can do that. But the first post I did on the new website is making a game in Unity tutorial asset package. The title is a mouthful, but what it is a asset package for Unity that contains the models, the scripts, the materials, everything that we've used inside of our game so far. You can just download, import it into your project, and have the game pretty much ready to go, just like that. So just click on that. And you can demo the game at its current state, right? So this would be, I believe this is about where we left off in the last video. So that's that version of game. Download that version. That version will also hopefully correspond to the video series, the current video that we're on. I will try to keep them updated as much as possible to go along with that if you are keeping up with the demo and the actual download package. And I'll try my best. But go to the forum if you have any questions. Very important for me. If you can do this, that'd be great. Nobody's here yet, so nobody is going to answer your questions except for me, which I guess is kind of the point, right? So do that, and I will try my best to get to you as quickly as possible. But at this part, we have a lot of work to do. So let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I deleted level 2, 3, and level 4, and just duplicated level 1 2 more times. That way they all have the same stuff in each scene, because we needed the tokens in each scene as each scene is looking for that token. And if that token does not exist, it will throw a reference error because we're referencing something that does not exist. So I just did that to make it a bit quicker. I also changed off camera, which I don't know why I do that, but I changed this from calling a method to add one to the token count, because all we were doing with that method was incrementing a variable by 1. And we should have just been incrementing the variable without going through a method. Just increment it through the player movement to the game manager. Just increment token count plus 1, just like that. No reason to have a method to do that until we need some more stuff that happens when we are working with tokens. But for now, just incrementing that single variable will do just fine. I believe that is all I changed off camera. Maybe wrong. I am probably wrong, but I believe that's all I changed. So what we have to do is whenever we hit this goal, I want to show a screen, a menu in the center of the screen that says, hey, you completed the level and here is your options. Here's your score. Here's the level you're on. First of all, we know that we don't want to go to the next level just when we complete the level. So to put some more control over this, we'll break complete level into a couple of different methods. I'll have one that's for void, then load next level. So this will be its own method. And then with that, I will take the part that loads the level and put it inside load next level. Now we're also going to be saving the game probably more than we are just in this single area here. So I'll make that into a save game method. That way we can call this method anytime we want to save the game. We don't have to write out this every single time. Just call this single method and that will do that for us. So now what I can do is call save game. I'm just going to take save game and I want to call that whenever we complete a level. So I'm going to say save game, just like that. And there we go. Now that will save the game whenever a level is completed or whenever the next level is loaded. When a level is completed, we want to make sure that we show a win screen. The win screen will have a next button, so we don't have to load the next level until we click that button. But for now, we have to show that we want to be showing a level complete screen. For that, I'm going to set up a boolean, just a public for now. So now we'll do a private. No reason for it to be public. Private bool show win screen. Okay. And now on complete level, I will say show win screen is equal to true. We'll set a default. We won't have to set a default here, but I'll do that just to be sure, right? So set default to false. And when we complete a level, set it to true. So now in our on GUI, every GUI call you make, every GUI element that you draw has to be drawn inside of on GUI. If it is not, WordPress, Unity will not like that, WordPress. I don't know why I said that. So now we're going to check inside of on GUI to see if show win screen is true. If it is, that's all we need. We don't need an equals true, because if that is true, that will return true. We don't have to check to see if it is true. It'll just return true. And if it is true, we want to show something. And what we want to show is a centered box first. We'll go that far. We'll get to the centered box. And that'll be pretty simple to do. We'll do a GUI dot blah blah blah. Now this requires a rectangle for the position of the actual box, right? And we've done that before with a new rect. But what I want to do is actually outside of this calculate all that so it looks a bit less messy, really. We'll do the win screen rect, and is of type rect. It'll equal to a new rect. And this will be, we have to center it in the center of the screen. So what we have to do is find this center point on the X and then find the center point on the Y. And we can do that by taking the width of the screen, dividing it by 2. So now we have half the screen, and we know that that would be center on the X. Then take the height of the screen, divide it by 2, and that'll give us the position, or the center position, on the Y, the up and down bar, right? So to do that, we'll take the screen. There's a class called screen. We can go through that and grab the width of the screen at the moment. Now that's not the resolution of the monitor or the display. That is actually the game window, the window of which the game is being loaded, rendered. That's all it is, not the actual display. So take the screen width, and what we would do is divide that by 2. But we'll also have to take the size of our rectangle into consideration, but we'll do that after we realize that that's going to have to happen. I'll just show you this as if I didn't know that though. So I'll do a screen dot height, divide that by 2, and then we need the width and the height of this, and I'll set up a couple of variables for this so we can change this on the fly. This will be a public flint. of windscreen width. And then now see, if I have an int like this, I could do another public int down there, right? But I could also, if both of these, if the windscreen width and the windscreen height are both going to be public integers, then I can do a comma and say windscreen height. Now both of these will be declared, and they will both be a public integer. And we can do it like that, and that's no problem. So now I can go into Unity, see what errors I'm throwing there. I did not finish my box. Oh, I didn't finish up my rectangle. So I want to comment this out so we do not get any errors and we can see this happening. Get rid of that. Go to my game manager, and I'll see windscreen width and windscreen height. They're on the same line, but they're both defined correctly, so that'll be fine for us. Knock that back, knock that back. Make sure we actually set this to equal something though. The width of this can be something like 350, and the height can be 200. Or no, we'll do 250. Now we'll take these values and I'll pass them into our rectangle. So we'll do a windscreen of the width there, and then we'll do a windscreen of the height. So now we have the center position on the up and down and the left and the right, and then we're passing width and a height here. We'll have to take into consideration the width and the height though, as the anchor points for that is not the center, but is the top left. So you'll notice that the top left of this rectangle will be shown to be the center of the screen. Now a box requires two parameters, the first one being the rectangle, and the second one being a string value. There are a few other different variations. You can pass an image and a different GUI content, right? But we're going to be passing just a string value of yeah for now. Just something kind of temporary. I'm going to click play, and I have to actually finish the level. Now notice I'm up here. Earlier I moved my player up there so I can test a bit quicker. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to run into that, and it's going to say level 4 is not my build settings. Now we're going to run into an issue right off the bat, and that's that I am pretty sure I started from level 1, right? I had that level loaded, but current level is loaded from our save file, and that makes it say that I am on level 3 when I'm actually on level 1. So we actually need to reset the game before we do this kind of stuff, before we test. And the way we can do that is just going to the menu and going to a new game. But for now, I can't do that because I do not have a quit button on here. I'll have to load it up through the actual editor. And for now, that'll be fine. We'll throw an error. But what we have is we have our game complete menu popping up that says yeah, but it's off centered here. This point appears to be in the center as it is, but everything else is off to the side. That's because the anchor point for GUI elements is default to the top left. Just like in most things, it's top left, not center. So I have to get the height and the width of this box, divide that by 2, get our center point here, and bring that guy up here. Now to do that, it'll be pretty simple. We have to subtract the result of that. And I'm going to subtract in parentheses here, so everything, the result of this simple little equation will be subtracted from the screen width divided by 2. So this will be, let's see, what am I doing now? We'll take the windscreen width, divide that by 2, and then we'll take the windscreen height and divide that by 2. Now you'll see what we get there. That goes to the center. Now, if I was to resize my window, you'll see that the thing stays in the center, as it should. That's being calculated every single GUI draw. So it's not just happening at the beginning and going to the center. No, it's always going to be in the center. That's really cool. Now, what if I did not actually want the window to be based on our variable that we set, but based on the size of the screen itself? Well, I could do something interesting like this. Come in here and say, this would be screen.width times, like say this is always going to be the half size of the screen dot width, and then take this, say this will be the screen dot height times 0.5, something like that. But then I have to pass this through to the size of this, which would be here, and then pass this to the size of that, which would be there, and make sure this is height. And then we get it looks kind of confusing now because we're having to do all that in there, and it'll probably throw an error anyway because I didn't even read what I was looking at. Oh, these aren't floats. I need to put an F there, make sure that it knows those are floats. And hey, what am I doing here? Where you at? Oh, there was more than just that. There's also these. Do that there as well, because those are also floats. And that should go away. Click play. And there we go. And now if I was to resize, notice the actual size of that window resizes with the screen. That's because it is based on a percentage of the screen space. And that's how you do stuff like that. Little simple resolution based menus and stuff. You can go in a bit more depth than that. It's pretty simple look at it, but that'll work for now. We can do something like that, and that'd be great. But now we need to get a button in the bottom right of that rectangle. Now, it's not going to be as simple as saying this button is inside of this rectangle, put it in the bottom right. We have to do a bit more math, right? So we know where this menu is being drawn at. And we can take that, use that information. We know the width of it as well, the height of it. We have some information that we need, right? And that's good. So now I can come down here and I can draw a GUI.button. Now we'll be passing this through an if statement in a second because we'll need to get information on whether it's clicked or not. But just to draw it, I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to do a GUI.button. Make this a new rect. And then pass it the string value of continue. And then inside of this, the first thing we want to do is get the X offset. So we know where the windscreen rect is, and we can go in and grab the X value from that rectangle, which would give us the value that is right here. And that's some interesting looking math, but it works. And that will give us the value that we have there. That way we know the X offset of the windscreen rect. So we know now this will be in the same X space as that. Then we have to offset this to get it in the bottom right. And we know the width of this. So I could do a plus windscreen rect.width, something like that. And that'll give us roughly where we want to be, but we'll be off, we'll be top left issue again. So I'll show you how that will come out. We'll grab the Y and make sure we take the height there. Then I'll set this up to be something like 150 wide and 40 high. Come back into Unity, get rid of all these errors, click play, run into that. And notice now our continue button is where it should be, really, because all we did was take the width and the height and offset it by that. And remember, this is the anchored point is the top left center, or top left center. What is that? It's in the top left, and the top left is in the bottom right. But we want this to be where it should be for the button to look better, not for that anchor point to be in the correct place. So the way we can do that is taking the width and the height of this button and subtracting it from this. So I could then say minus 150. I want to add a little bit of padding in there, so that'll be about negative 170. And do the same on the Y. We'll do negative 40, add some padding in there. We'll do negative 60. And that should get us about where we want to be. Should move that up to there where it should be. But notice this, when that resizes, the button does not resize. And that may be a good thing because we're going to have a label in here and it could look pretty bad when you get lower resolutions. Now we may not keep this menu doing that because that could cause some issues in the future. I just wanted to show you how you could start doing a system that is based on resolution. And that's how you do that. So we have the GUI button drawn in the correct location. So now what we have to do is do a check for it. We'll do an if. Pass it these button values, or this button value. Now when that button is clicked, it will return true to this if statement. So anything inside of this will happen. What I want to do is I want to load next level. We have that method set up, so that should just do that for us with no issues. Now I want to create a quit button, and this button is going to be really helpful for us here in a second, so we can go back into the main menu from within the game and make a new game. That way we can test from level 1 so we don't get those errors. But this one I want to be in the bottom left of this menu. So how do I do that? Right here we're taking this and adding it to the width there. And right off the bat, we don't want to do that. We want it to be just bottom left. So I could take just the X position and offset it by the padding that we had, which was plus 20. Remember, we had 150, added 20 to that, and had 40 and added 20 to that. And the height, though, needs to be the same because it's going to be on the same X, or the same Y, but the X will be over to the left a bit, or quite a bit. And I want to make this a bit smaller. We'll do this about 100. And so if we did that to 100, no, it's fine because we're on to the left, yeah. Now I'll make this say quit. Come into Unity, click play. I must have left out a bracket of some kind. Oh yeah, I have a semicolon there and a semicolon there for when I just copy and pasted that. I did not remove the semicolons. Click play, run into that, and now we have continue and quit in their respective corners, and that's great. So now if I was to click continue, it'll say level 1 and load that up, and it's kind of crazy though. And the reason it's at level 1 is because I have it printing out the current level somewhere. Where does it print the... Oh, here it is. So it's printing it out right there inside of the load next level method. So I want this to load the menu. I want to do application.load level. Now we could load this based on the index. We were doing that before with the main menu. But since the main menu's index is going to be changing, it would make more sense if we loaded it based on a name that would not change. Right? So if I go to my file and go to build settings, the main menu is main_menu. So I can take that, pass that as a string value, just like that, and it will load whatever level has the name main menu. So now if I go back into Unity, close that out, go away, click play, run into that, and click quit, it will take me to the home menu. Now I click new game to start a brand new game. Now my current level should be equal to 0. Do that, click continue, that should say 1. If I successfully complete this level, which I should, as it is not very challenging, now I should get continue, and it should say 2. I have no idea what... Oh, my time ran out. My time ran out, and it's trying to load the main menu level. I don't want it to do that anyway as I'm testing, but what we will do is make sure this loads main menu and not 4, as 4 is not the correct index, clearly. Click play again, run into that, continue, it says I win. Why do I win? Why do I win? What level do you think it is? Continue. So now we're on level 1, which is level 2, because we have 0, 1, 2. If I complete it again, level 2. I don't know why it thought I won. That was interesting, I guess. Complete this level again, continue. Now I should win, that's correct. Because we completed 3 levels. Click quit, new game, and we're back here. Now, quickly, I would like to create a simple scoring system. So we have some values that we can use to create a score. Some arbitrary, stupid score. Something like taking your tokens and doing something with your remaining amount of time. So if you have 5 seconds remaining and you collected 2 tokens throughout the level, take your remaining amount take your remaining amount of time, multiply that by your total tokens that you've collected, and let that be your score for some no, there's no reason. There's no way to justify that scoring system, but we're going to be using it anyway. So to do that, we're going to run into a couple of issues. First of all, maybe just one issue. See, the current token count is where? Trying to remember. Where am I? Oh, that's right. I'm just updating it from the player movement now, as I have token count plus equals 1. So it is called token count. Token count, though, is an integer, and if we were to be multiplying that by the start time, would be a float. So we would have to convert one of ours to the appropriate type, because you can't multiply a float by an integer and vice versa. So you have to actually convert the type to match what you're doing with it. So we're going to be taking that, multiplying the remaining time by the amount of tokens that we've collected. Let's go ahead and start that. So the idea would be to have, let's see, the idea would be to have an int with a score called score, and set it equal to token count times start time, right? Start time is start time, but it also counts down with the other time. So a current time is the remaining time as well, but it's just in string form. So there's no reason to convert the current time to an integer or a float when we have start time, which is already a float. It's the same thing as current time. So no reason to do that. And this is what we want. Score to equal token count times start time. Excuse me. But this is an integer and this is a float. So what I'll actually do is I'll say a float of token. Now we have to type this. When I say type it, I mean typecast it. So make sure that we set token count, whatever it is, to be equal to a float. Even though it's an integer, we can say we want to treat it as a float. So I want to set up a float called tokens, make this tokens, and say that is equal to token count, right? But that'll give an error as well, saying, hey, you're trying to set an integer to be a float. So I can type this as, in front of that, I can type it as a float. So make sure it'll cast that as a float as it is storing that information inside of that variable. Now we can take tokens and multiply it by start time. Now this would have to be a float as well. We may actually reverse all of this and make these into integers instead of floats, because it'll be a bit prettier. But we're also setting current score. I didn't use current score, I made one. So we'll actually do current score. Since current score is an integer, I do believe. It is an integer, so we actually have to make this into an integer. That'd be better anyway, it'd be a bit prettier. We could get around that and make current score a float, but there's no reason to do that. It's not really the best way to go anyway. So what I'll do is I'll actually convert this. I'll say this is game time. I don't know what to call that one. And make this that, and then make this token count that. So now we're passing it an integer, converting the float of start time to an integer, storing that in game time, taking current score, which is looking for an integer, and storing the value of token count times start time. Now start time will just take the whole number, so if it's like 7.7 seconds left, it would just probably be a 7, right? 7.2, it would still be a 7. And that's fine, that'll work great for what we want to do. So now we have current score. We want to signify that inside of our menu. So I'll do a GUI.label, and this label will be a new rect, and the value will be the value of current score, and we have to convert that to a string, and we'll do to a string, just like that. So give us the string form of current score, which is actually an integer. Doing a lot of type conversions here, but that's fine. We need to learn all this stuff we can learn. And now we need to do the same math to get this place, but actually we just want to offset this a little bit on the top and on the left. So I can do a windscreen rect .x plus 20, and then windscreen rect .y plus probably like 40, because we have the title of the box, which is yeah, so that'll take up some space. And then the size of the actual label itself would be something like 350 or something, and that should be great. I say great as in it would be awesome, but it's not going to be. Where am I doing that at? Current score equals. Oh, I'm not actually using GameTime for that. The whole time I was explaining that, you were probably like, no, you're not doing that. Why are you saying you're not doing that? I meant it, my head was doing that. Now I'll click play, run into that, and my score was 0. Why is that? That's because I didn't collect any tokens. A single token is required to gain any score. You can have the quickest time. If you don't have a token, anything multiplied by 0 is in fact 0. So to get our score up, I will do quit, go to new game. I will grab this token after running into that spike, and run into that. And now we have 4, 3, 2, 1. And that brings up another issue. We have to stop the time whenever we complete a level. And one way I can do that just came into my head that we'll see if works, and it should work, is I can wrap this in a condition, right? We'll say if, and then we'll only make sure that the time is decreases. Make sure it only decreases if the level is not already completed. So I'll say if not completed. Now completed is not anything yet, so I will set this up under all this mess that we have here. Make this a private bool for completed. And completed starts out as false by default. Again, not necessary, but I always do that for some reason. So we're going to say if it's not completed yet, count down, else stop counting down. Don't have to do an else there because anything else would be what we want. So I'm going to say correct or completed equal to true. So we complete the level, set completed to true, and that will stop that time from counting down. I hope at least. Run into that. Notice it stops at 9.4. The time stops there. No token once again, though. So I want to make sure I run into this, go quit, and do a new game so we don't have any save to worry about. Let the spikes come out, go in, hit that. Notice that stops at 4.3. My score stops at 4, does not continue to go down. So what I can do now is I can concatenate some string on the end of this, and you can do that by, not that, I can do this by adding the plus sign. The plus sign in C# is the concatenation symbol. If you're working in PHP, it's the period, but here it's a plus sign. It makes more sense to be a plus sign, I think. No, the period maybe because plus is usually for some kind of addition, and here it's an addition. Anyway, it doesn't matter. We'll add a string on the end of this, and we'll do a space score. So we're saying the value of the current score, and then say score, so to say like 7 score. Let's come in here, and that should pop up score, 4 score. Yeah. Okay, so we have that. Now let's say what level we completed, just to get some of the stuff out of the way, just to practice what we've learned here. So I want to set this off on the Y. So we have 50 high. 50 high is probably a bit high anyway, but we're going to do 40 down. So we'll do like 90. And then this will say current level. And then I will add we'll add the string before this. We'll say completed level space concatenate there. We'll do that, and I'll come back in here. Should pop that up for me, and it's in the same position. How did I do that? Oh, did I change the height of that instead of? I don't know what I did. Change that to 90 on the Y offset. Come back in here. Should push that down, way down. Good math. We'll do 70. So 4 score, completed level 0. Now, when I said level completion screen, you're probably expecting something, maybe not that. But when you think about it, if you think of something that's pretty popular, like Angry Birds, right? Angry Birds has this same system where when you complete a level, you get this menu that pops up and it gives you star ratings and says what your score was, and gives you the next button, maybe a quit button or a replay button. And this is the same thing. It's not as pretty, it's not as polished, but you have the information to do what you want to do with it now. So if you're good at graphics, come in here and replace the GUI skin with the stuff you want, and you'll get something kind of pretty. So maybe you want a star system though. You want a star calculation system where you calculate the stars. Well, instead of having the stupid scoring system, you could have a starring system. You could say, just let me think for a second. If you had, you could keep the score system and say, like, set a par for each level. So if you reached this score, then you get 3 stars. If you reached this score, you get 2 stars. And you could do that with a simple if check. Do that with some switch statements. Say, if the value is this, then show this graphic. If the value is this, show this graphic and give this many bonus points. Whatever you want to do. I mean, after you get this far, you understand, or you should understand, how to do that kind of stuff now. And that's awesome. That is great. You can make some pretty cool stuff with just such little information, it seems. There's a lot of information in it. You may not realize that at the moment, but you have learned so much. You can do a lot of stuff already. And we've used that to make this just ridiculously silly game. But it's going to be something pretty great. I promise. No, I don't. I lied. It's not going to be anything. But it is kind of cool, right? I am going to call this video finished. In the next part, I have no idea what we're going to be doing. I usually say in the end of these videos that we're going to be doing this in the next part. And then it becomes something else. So I might as well not even tell you what we're going to be doing, because by the time we do it, it will actually change to something else. At the moment, though, I think what we're going to do is... we really need to make a couple more levels, right? We need to get past this one level and maybe make it a bit more progressed towards an actual game. And then, I'm sure I'm missing something obvious that needs to be in here. We are going to do a level select, so don't worry about that. That's on the list. That's going to be done in this series. And then, God, I don't know. We may just polish a few things up, make the menu not horrible, and then set up, just go over a few different things that are normal in games. Something like sounds. You need sounds. Sound effects are very important. So we can go over that. So you run into that token over there, and then it goes badunk when you run into it, a cool sound like that. Maybe I'll even make the sound effects myself, because that was a pretty good one. Badunk. And we'll do I don't really want to do, maybe do some level design, some sound, and then start the level select. That'll be fun, right? That's it for this part, though. Again, if you are interested, please check out awfulmedia.com for that download package and the forum. Nothing else on there really interesting, but there may be in the future. So please check that out. It really will help me a lot. And it'd just be awesome. You'll be an awesome person for doing that. Leave a comment on these videos. Like these videos if you did like them. And if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe. If you don't want to subscribe, then don't. But I would prefer that you did. Follow me on Twitter and Google+. My name is Austin. I will see you next time.